Today I've been doing some wonderful, outstanding work since I started at the organization, including a wonderful recruitment event that we did in partnership with the County Sheriff's Association. Thank you so much, Kate Carr and Larry Davis and Barney Wall for helping us organize that event. Because last year, one of the things that I know that was really important to me when I started this job was talking to people and hearing about some of the strengths and the weaknesses of this organization. The thing that was brought to my attention is that we really needed to build an infrastructure across all 254 counties. And so I talked to people all across the state. I talked to former candidates statewide, former House candidates, and every person you can imagine who agreed to talk to me. And we launched a program that spoke to all of the problems that we knew that we needed to tackle as an organization. And that included that resulted in the launch of a program called Lone Star Rising. That is the key to making sure that we build our infrastructure across the state. We were able to set up this program to focus on 3 constituencies here in Texas. County chair recruitment, making sure that county chairs have the infrastructure, the resources, and the support that they need. We have a long way to go with that, as well as, and then also candidates, our Democratic candidates. We hear from them all the time. I don't get the support I need from the party. We are trying to fix that. It is not perfect. We can do that. And then also political professionals. We need people here in the state that are running campaigns that are from the state. And so that is the other thing that we have focused on with Lone Star Rising. And we were super successful last year. Last year we recruited to contest almost every single thing, all the statewide, everything down ballot. And as well as 85% of the House legislative races last year. That was really great. It was also, we also just needed to build our capacity too. And that's what we've been focusing on for this past year. And we were, I will say this all the time because it is a huge deal. Last year was a historic year for us because we launched the very first statewide coordinated in 25 years. That means that we partnered with the top of the ticket, Colin Allred, as well as our front line races down ballot. That is so important to make sure that we're institutionalizing the field work that we're doing on the ground every single year. So we've done a lot of great work, but we know we can do better. And this is why we're engaged in this important conversation here today to elect the next leader who is going to take us to the next level. So I want to take a moment to say thank you to all of our sponsors here today, including a non-urban rural caucus, and so much Meri Gomez, TDP, South Plains, Texas Progressive Caucus, and everything that you do. Many local West Texas and Panhandle County parties, including Lubbock, Potter, Randall, Midland, Scurry, Ector, Hale, Hockley, Howard, Nolan, Jones, and Taylor. Thank you all for the work that you do. County chairs, I love you so much. You are the ones that are on the ground that are the advocates for us all across the state, and I really deeply appreciate all the work that you do. So I'm going to pass it on to Robert. So the next.
Hi, thank you.
Oh, wait, it's Nellie. Robert.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nellie Patsy. I'm the vice chair for the Lubbock County Democratic Party. What? Okay. Okay, let me start again. My name is Nellie Hobson. I'm vice chair for the Lubbock County Democratic Party. I'm also vice chair for the Coalition of Lubbock Black Democrats, third vice president for the NAACP, and I'm on board for TDP in South Carolina. I'm just going to do a reading. We acknowledge that we owe our existence and success to generations from across the globe who gave their hopes, dreams, and energy in guiding us to this moment in our history. Some were brought here against their will. Others left distant homes in hope of a better future. And some have lived on this land since time immemorial. In the pursuit of reconciliation, acknowledging the truth of our histories, intersections is critical and will ultimately determine our path forward. We begin this effort by recognizing the connections between ourselves and the land. Today, we reside on the ancestral lands of Comanche, the Mescalero Apache peoples, the original stewards of what is now Lubbock, and was once the heart of the Comanchero. The foundation of our city came at a direct cost to the indigenous peoples, whose land and labor this was built upon. Lubbock Democrats acknowledge these truths as critical building and fostering mutual respect and connection across all barriers and barriers. All barriers of heritage and difference. Please take a moment to pay respect to the elders past and present and the many legacies of violence, displacement, migration, and settlement that brought us here together today.
Thank you, Ms. Hobson. No justice?
No peace!
No justice?
No peace!
No justice?
No peace!
That's what I'm talking about. Welcome to Lubbock, our political candidate forum, for party chair. We need to be motivated, activated, educated, and ready for action. So once we decide on who our interim party chair will be, our leader, we're ready to go. My name is Coretta Graham. I am the president of Texas Democratic Women. It is my honor to be here in Lubbock. I drove 8 hours from Corpus Christi, Texas.
Yes.
And I'm happy to be here, so thank you for the opportunity. Is honored to be one of the co-sponsors for this particular forum. That's why I wanted to be here in person to greet you and meet you and let you know that we must not give up the fight. Me as an African American, my ancestors been through this.
Right.
So we can give you some good advice
Yes.
on how to resist and what resistance looks like.
Right.
So hopefully you'll be inspired, you'll be motivated, we'll ask some questions of our candidates, and we'll continue organizing in our community. I invite you, for all the women and men, to join Texas Democratic Women. If you're not a member, we have a local chapter here in Lubbock, but if not, still you can become a member at large. So thank you and welcome, welcome, welcome. And next I invite Lubbock County Chair, Margie, say hi.
Thank you all for our Texas Democratic Party event, which we have our candidates that are here today. We're just honored to have you here. We know that was a long drive for many of you, up to 10 hours. So thank you so much for being here. We're honored to listen to what you have to say and share with us. I am going to have Dr. Robert Ricketts, who's Emeritus Professor at Texas Tech University, Rawls College of Business. He has educated thousands and thousands of students over his lifetime. He also ran for Congress several years ago. He's an experienced campaign worker as well as an educator. So we're very honored to have Dr. Ricketts with us moderating today. In addition to that, we have Lala Chavez. She has for over 9 years. She was recently elected, and we're honored to have her here today moderating. She also helps hundreds and thousands of students We're honoring our representative in our show. So now I hand it over to Dr. Robert Ricketts and Lala. They will be moderating.
Thanks, Mark, and welcome everybody. As you heard, my name is Robert Ricketts.
Robert is coming to have to be up.
Way up, wait.
Yes, yes,
I can have it. Thank you and welcome everybody. Thanks, Mark. We'd like to begin by introducing our candidates. And I'm just going to call you out in big order so that as we get through, we won't mess your positions up. Steve Miller. Lillie Parker-Mims. Arguijo. Patsy Woods Martin. Meri Gomez, I'm sorry. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. I'll now hand it over to Lala and let her get us started.
No, one person with. Okay, this is the Bravo. Can you guys hear me?
No.
Now can you hear me? Is that pretty loud? Because we're gonna be asking the questions from over here, so if you can't hear me, let me know. It's the perfect opportunity. Okay, first of all, thank you guys for being here and giving me this opportunity. Y es un placer de estar aquí con todos ustedes. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here to meet each and every one of you. Thank you again. Mil gracias. Thank you. Responses to questions will be no longer than 60 seconds. Questions will be asked in order of candidates seated from our right to our left and are sourced from our co-sponsors, the county parties in office, and from the question form that was circulated online prior. The first 3 questions will be answered by every candidate and closing questions. The remaining questions will only be asked of some of the candidates before we switch to the next question. Regarding rebuttals, as the moderator, I am allowed to give a candidate a 30-second rebuttal and name checked, but only if a candidate asks for permission to do so, because we may need to move along if needed to get through more questions. Is that pretty clear right now, guys?
Yes.
All right, cool. Microphone, that will be close to your mouth.
Okay. Okay, let's begin with 3 opening questions for all candidates. 60-second answer. I go in order of the candidates seating from right to left. In battleground states like Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, and even blue states like Washington State, they were able to elect Democrats statewide and keep Trump's margin of victory very narrow. In cases like Washington State, they even made gains down ballot. In 24, the Texas Democratic Party was able to successfully partner with the frontline races to run the first statewide coordinated in over 25 years. A model similar to the aforementioned states. As chair, would you push for this model? And if not, what is your plan to build a winning statewide field program? Each candidate will answer this question, starting from my right to my left.
You're my right.
Lillie?
Is that me? Okay. Right to my left. Okay, can everybody hear me? Yeah. Do I need a mic? I need a mic. Yes.
That was a very long, detailed question. But what I think the basic gist of the question is, are we willing to invest in Texas the way they have invested in other states? Are we willing to run a Democratic Party program like they have in other winning states? I think the answer is absolutely. Here in Texas, we need to invest the way they have in other states, and we need to coordinate on the ground with our top of the ticket candidates and our local elected officials and candidates as well, our county parties and our SCUC. So I'm gonna take a second back over to say, I am Lillie Schecter. I'm really thrilled to be in Lubbock today, so thank you, Lubbock Democrats, for hosting us and all the Democrats that have come in from around the surrounding area. Because I think the strength of our party is about the people in this room, right here, right now. The state party is only as strong as the people that are active in the state party. It's only as strong as the county party chairs, only as strong as the SDEC and our precinct chairs. So I think together we will win the state, but we have to all work together collaboratively to make sure that we do.
Hello, everyone. I'm Meri Gomez, and of course, we will definitely model over of whatever our counter Democrats or our fellow Democrats are doing in other states. We'll look at that, but of course, we need to understand that Texas is very different. We have people, for example, that will vote for Collin but not for Kamala. And so we need to think about our dynamics and also focus on what I wanted to amplify on the Texas Offensive, what they have done originally. I don't like the marketing part. I want to change the word, but I want to do a Texas playbook. And each turf is going to have its own playbook. And we're going to use it the way coaches do for their teams. And we're going to know our key players and also recognize key players that are part of the community. We'll figure it out, guys, as we go along the way. And we need to recognize who it was that really got out the vote this go around, so we can focus on them, see what their secrets were to their winning or winning or loss, whatever it is. Thank you, guys.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for hosting this forum today in Lubbock, Texas. I am Patsy Woods Martin. You can learn more about me at patsyintexas.com. But before I get started in answering your question, I would ask you to join me in recognizing the last Democratic Speaker of the House, Representative Pete Laney, my friend. Thank you so much for being here. And to answer your wrong question, yes, I do think we need to invest in coordinated campaigns. It's about efficiency, effectiveness, communication, and collaboration. In order to win in Texas, we've got to speak with one voice, work together, and focus on our voters who will put us over the line.
Hello, everybody. My name is Arguijo, and I was born and raised right here in Denver, Texas. Not too far from here. Looking at the cotton fields and the beet fields coming in, remind me of my summers growing up in Denver. So to answer the question, I would say that we can grab pieces from what other states have done, but we can't utilize the whole plan that the state has done because it's not going to succeed in Texas. Texas Democrats are different from California Democrats. Texas Democrats are different from New York Democrats. So I would, yes, adopt what I can and try to implement what we can here in Texas. That will work, but to say that we're going to adopt a whole strategy, no, I would say no. The game plan for me is going to be this. I'm going to drive to every single county. I'm going to assess the situation. I'm going to be every single county chair, precinct chair, SDC, and I'm going to assess the situation that's happening on the ground. I already, right now, in this Northwest Texas Panhandle, have 5 friends that are candidates who are ready to run for local positions. Number 1, that's going to be number 2, is going to put a brick and mortar at least at each region of Texas. And then we've already got fundraising pledges from people so we can start building up the pipelines of fundraising. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Delia Parker-Mims. I'm the current chair of the Denton County Democratic Party. And Denton County is the largest county in the state of Texas that has continuously increased Democratic turnout in the last 2 elections since I've been chair. And that's what we have to do. I do believe in a coordinated campaign, but I think we need to flip the focus back to the county parties. We flip Texas through our county parties. And so our county parties have to be engaged. We've got rural, suburban, and urban. First thing I want to do is stop, create a strategic plan. The way we go to the suburbs, the rural are going to be different, but we create that plan and we execute it. But we've got to engage all of our county parties and we all have to increase turnout. That is how we win. I'm going to ask you guys to join me on Monday at my Ask Me Anything for Rural County. It's a Zoom, and we'll talk about how do we engage rural county? Check out more information about it on gophilly.org, but to be specific, we created a strategic plan and we executed.
Before we go to the next one, I'd like to say, can we hold on the applause? Montrose got a hold of us. They're live streaming and they can't hear us, can't hear the candidates, and that's real important. So the other folks that are watching it live can hear everybody. Is that okay?
Yes.
Thank you guys, appreciate it.
First, I want to thank my name is Kendall Scudder, and I want to thank all the hosts of this event today, and thank all of you for taking time out on your Saturday afternoon to come and listen to us talk about the future of the party. This is a wonderful question, and we have a saying in East Texas that I think translates really well here. It's that you can't put a sack of flour in the oven and expect to make biscuits. I appreciate the coordinated campaign and the work that has been done there, but there's a lot of steps in between, and it takes accomplishing those steps to be able to get the results we want. So don't expect there to be a big change overnight. I'm glad we did things in the right direction with the coordinated campaign. Moving forward, I'd like to see us do that, but also maybe coordinate it a little better, where we're actually working with people on the ground. It's my personal opinion that we spend too much time trying to figure out how to keep a bunch of consultants paid in DC and Austin. We're not focused on how to resource you, the people who are doing the work on the ground. I know it can be scary to take our party in a new direction, but I hope Democrats are reading the room and understand that it's time for a bottom-up approach to our party, and I'm here to try to deliver that. Thank you.
I don't know, for some reason, I keep getting shocked when I touch these microphones. Maybe that's good energy. My name is Reverend Steve Miller. I am also from East Texas, so Kendall can't claim a total and complete man on that. I hope I don't go the broken record today, because I really want to drive the point home.
Closer to your mouth.
Okay, I hope I don't sound like a broken record today, because I really want to drive the point home. There are 30 statewide elected offices in the state of Texas, and we have lost every single one of them since 1994. Something is broken. Something is broken in our party, and we, for some reason, we can't figure out what it is. What is it? So before we can start anything, we need to ask some real difficult questions as Democrats. Why do we keep losing year after year after year after year, and we keep doing the same thing over and over and over? It does not make sense. We cannot win until we address that single issue. Every single race has 30 races since 1994.
Okay, one more time, guys, please hold the applause. Please wait till it's all said and done. Again, they let us know from Austin, they're live streaming and they can't hear these guys. So can we just please wait, be respectful of those other people that are watching that live stream. Thanks, guys, I appreciate it. Okay, we're gonna go on to our next question. For each candidate, there are many studies and books out there about political campaign and community organizing. What is your organizing philosophy? Each candidate. Let's go first. Let's go this way.
Okay.
Let me ask that question. I was gonna ask you another question. Let's not do that. Yep.
Sure, I'll answer that.
No, this is the one we need. Let me reread it to you because I may have thrown you off. Would you like me to reread the question?
Go ahead.
Okay. There are many studies and books out there about political campaign and community organizing. What is your organizing philosophy?
I don't know if you guys saw this article last week by Beto. It was a New York Times article on Texas Democrats. Beto made the statement, Democrats have lost their common sense. He says, the concerns and values of the people need to be our concerns. I think over the last 31 years, the concerns and values of the ordinary people have not been our concerns. And when the concerns and values of the ordinary person becomes our concerns, we will limit him. Another one, we can't just campaign in the metropolitan areas. Dallas, Houston, Austin, San Antonio, El Paso, is not enough. We have to incorporate the rural counties of Texas. We need a rural county strategy in coordination with the metropolitan areas.
To answer the question, I believe in the snowflake model, which is where
each individual recruits their own cohorts around who recruits their own cohorts around. That's kind of the model that Obama and Beto have used that we've seen a lot of success in. It's also a very bottom-up plan. There are 55 counties in the state of Texas that do not have county chairs. Just for those who are doing the quick math, that's more than 20%. There are, of the 9,000 approximately precincts in the state of Texas, 4,500 of them do not have precinct chairs. We have lost sight of what it means to build a grassroots network around the state of Texas. And I think it shows. The types of people that used to win in this state understand how important that was. That's why I've earned the support of people like former Agriculture Commissioner Jim Hightower, former Land Commissioner Gary Morrow, former Congressman John Bryant, folks who won in this state back when we had that grassroots initiative. And I hope to implement that Snowflake model all across the state of Texas and start filling those vacancies around the state so that we have a model that works for you.
I do support community organizing and relational organizing. So let me tell you what we did in Denton County. First, when I become chair, there's 4 things that I want to create a strategic plan on: fundraising, engagement, voter registration, and get out the vote. Engagement goes into community organizing. We have to start engaging more all year long. Republicans are engaged every day, including on Sunday when they get their real engagement. In Denton County, we instituted what we called our Blue Neighbor Network. And we allowed our precinct chairs, we taught them how to go and to meet people and meet. And we also instituted twice a month recruiting more precinct chairs. And we've been able to increase our volunteers from 100 to 800 people. So we've got to engage, we've got to do relational engagement helps as well, but we've got to be on the ground, organizing and talking with our voters.
Well, one of my favorite books is 30 Texas Blue. And in that book, it talks about a whole bunch of money that's been dumped into Texas. And one of the things that we have to realize is that the Republican Party of Texas has a never-ending supply of money. So that's not going to be enough. But one of the things that we can do as a Texas Democratic Party is couple our efforts with all the grassroots campaigns that are around, all the 30-plus organizations that are around Texas. Our efforts coupled with them, I think that we can build a very, very strong Texas Democratic Party. In terms of the voter, getting voters registered to vote, it's one thing to get them registered to vote, as you all know here in Lubbock, getting them to go vote is a whole different story. So what we gotta do is continue to stay involved in each of these communities, make it cool or make it okay to be a Democrat, and be a part of all of the things that are happening with the nonprofit organizations. Just be there, be present, and let them know that there's a Democratic Party in the panel.
So I believe in a 254 county, culturally competent, continuous community engagement. In political speak, that's year-round organizing with folks from communities. And what that looks like in Lubbock County is different from what it will look like in Taylor County or in Dallas County. We've got to recognize that we have good people working their hearts out on the ground every day. And we've got to provide, as a state party, we have got to provide our local county parties and our organizers with the tools they need to be effective, to listen to our voters, to tell our voters what a Democrat can do for them. All of that before we ask them for their vote. We've taken our voters for granted. It's come home to roost, and we've got to change the way we do business.
Yes, Patty, you are right. We do need to change the way we do business. And to be honest with you, I do have a utilitarian philosophy, always have. I took bioethics as part of my undergrad. But at the end of the day, and I've kind of been saying this on Facebook, everywhere I go, whatever you guys know about politics, kind of throw it out the window. We need to do what's good for us now and make changes now. Adaptability is what keeps us alive. We have to evolve. And what is that evolution? We don't know, but we're going to figure it out, guys. But we need to communicate, network, get together, find out what's good for each turf, right? And see what works for everyone. Because when we have to change, when you remodel, what do? You throw everything out but the kitchen sink sometimes. So we're gonna have to do a whole remodel, so we don't know what we can do, but, we're gonna learn on the way because we're educated, smart, and powerful, and definitely, ready to go, guys.
For everyone that's still watching online, I want to remind you that my name is Lillie Schecter, and I think we need to all remember to remind the people online because we get, the Zoom gets a little distracted at times, so just remind you to do that. Year-round organizing. I've been doing organizing for 20 years in Democratic politics. I believe that the way we do organizing is we have local leadership in our communities that we trust and that we empower and we bring to the table. And it's not about September 1 through November 6. If we start organizing in September, we have already lost the campaign, we have lost the narrative, we have lost touch with our voters. So I believe that we should be doing year-round organizing, empowering local leaders everywhere across the state and making sure that they have the tools they need to be successful. Every county is different, every region is different. I am a Harris County expert, which means I'm an urban expert. I am not a rural expert, I'm not a suburban expert, but I can tell you the people in the room like Kyle and Josh and Kim who are rural experts, who I want to bring to the table to make sure that when we develop strategies across the state, we're bringing local leaders to the table. And we don't have to enact one strategy. We need to multitask and do a rural, urban, and suburban strategy all at the same time.
Thank you. Okay, on to the next question, and we're gonna start with you at the very end coming up. I apologize, we should have had name tags up front, so everybody that's watching it would know who you were, so thanks for mentioning that. Appreciate that. For each candidate, given that rural Texas compromises around 20% of the statewide vote, what specific plan do you have for expanding party building in our 200 rural counties?
Start me again? Yes, ma'am. Okay. It's me again. This is a great question. I think that rural is just as important as suburban, just as important as urban. And we need to bring local leaders in who have the expertise, who can help us create programs on the ground in these local areas. And they need to be supported by the state Democratic Party and by their county party chairs throughout the entire year, not just during election time. So I think we need to come to each area and figure out, talking to Taylor County Democrats today was a radically different conversation than talking to Lubbock County Democrats yesterday. They have very different experiences. While they're both rural areas, they have very different experiences and different cultures. What we need to do is bring local leaders to the table to figure out what the strategy is, but we need to make sure that we're having an eye on the prize. The goal of all the work we're doing here is to take power back in the state of Texas. The way we do that is by winning elections. So we need to field great candidates up and down the ballot, like Nellie here, who's gonna run for justice of the peace, and make sure that we are giving Democratic voters here an alternative, so that when they are scared by what the Trump administration is doing, we can point out the amazing Democrats that we already have, like Lala, who are doing the work already, so that we give our voters something to look forward to.
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Given that rural Texans comprise around 20% of the statewide vote, what specific plan do you have for expanding party building in our 200 plus rural counties?
So, in the rural counties, I lived a small part of my life in Gerald, Texas, and that was a really scary time because I moved from inner city Austin into outside Gerald. I remember thinking, like, who am I gonna marry? Like, what do you do? There was some guy in the back who would deal with the hogs, and it was a really scary time. So in the rural areas, it's interesting, but I talked about this before, but I think that we aren't integrated with our teachers. We need to get with the ATFs, the unions, and get the teachers to get the students involved, and they are the ones that are voting. Now, a lot of these young kids, they can't express themselves very much because their parents kind of have them still under their thumb, and even though they're in college, they're still dependent on their parents. So we need to take into consideration the students that are already in the community, and they're a force that we need to get out and let's figure out some ways by like making some anime cartoon on how to get out the vote and how to talk to your friends about politics.
For everybody online, I'm Patsy Woods Martin. So the question is how to develop a rural program. I have actually lived all over the state. I've lived in Harris County, I've lived in Austin. I right now live in Montague County, Texas. So I know that there are differences around the state and that we have to treat each community uniquely. particularly in rural Texas, we have got to help our leaders like Kay and Larry and Karen develop a program for a presence for Democrats in rural Texas. You all may know that there is no presence in many counties across the state, and it is scary to raise your hand and say, I'm a Democrat. What the state party can do is provide technical assistance. We can provide collateral. We can lift these county parties up as a real part of the team. We've got to do that in order to win into the future.
My name is Aaron Arguijo, to everyone online. I grew up on the interstate of Highway 385 and Highway 86, and I've never seen any politician come to my hometown. You all in here know darn well that you've been forgotten about. You know, there's 134 counties that have been forgotten about, and that's why we have a coalition of the 134 pack. That is a fact, my friends, okay? So, here's the thing about rural Texas. The reason that Greg Abbott's voucher program is about to possibly go into effect is because of rural Texas. The fact of the matter is that there's 75%, I mean, you know, it's information that's out there. 75% of the voters come from urban areas. But we have so many people, like places in border Texas where it's about 51% white, another, or it's like 49% white, 52% Hispanic, and 2 or 3% other. There's places that we can go and we can find people and work with them in these rural areas. So what we have to do is have a very least representation. We don't have any of that in Lubbock, Texas. Amarillo doesn't have an office. I think you might have one here, but we don't have no offices. We need to have at the very least some sort of place where we can convene together and work together until we can get an office in every county.
Delia Parker-Mims, and I'm sure the Denton County Democratic Party, it's a lot suburban, a little rural, maybe rural is kind of big, and then you have a few urban precincts, but it's mostly suburban and a lot of rural. So I understand the fear that goes along with being in rural county. There's people who are afraid to even put up signs. But I'll tell you what we did in our county. We increased engagement. And we did simple things like Sunday Fun Day. And we went into certain areas that were very, very rural. And we have some of our biggest events. And I'm not talking about speeches. I'm just talking about letting people know we want to gather with like-minded people. What we can do at the party level, as I said, we need to create a strategic plan for urban, rural, and suburban counties. We need to utilize more of our SEDC. As from talking to them, I can tell you there is so much knowledge and information within our SEDC that we're not utilizing. We need to do that before we even start thinking about going into consultants. We've got to increase engagement all around. It doesn't matter if your county doesn't flip. You still have to increase engagement because increasing turnout affects those statewide ballots, and we've got to be ready by 2030.
When you're from a forgotten part of the state, you understand how important this question is, so thank you for it. A lot of times when folks from rural Texas ask for help, the party looks back at them and says, we don't have money. Well, they didn't ask you for money. They asked you for help. And there are things that we can do to stop our rural counties from having to reinvent the wheel over and over again. Example, the party should be an advertising clearinghouse where you do not have to reinvent these ideas over and over again. You're just slapping your logo on things that have already been created and that are high quality. So you don't have to have a Spanish language advertising expert in your county to put an ad on Spanish language news. The training, how do you operate van, how to do your targeting, and we have to get serious about data acquisitions in rural areas because your primary data is not always accurate because a lot of people voted Republican primaries, right? I understand rural Texas in a real way because my formative years in organizing has been in rural Texas. This is an issue that has my heart, and I'm looking forward to being able to tackle this with you.
Hi, my name is Steve Miller. First of all, the rural area does not represent 20% of the voting electorate. It represents 33%. There are 20 million people in metropolitan areas. There are 10 million people in the rural areas. There are 757,000 African Americans.
There are 4.5 million Hispanics and there are 4.4 million white Americans in the rural areas. But I think where you start with the kitchen table issues. You start with the American dream issues. You start with jobs. You go to being able to buy or purchase a home. You go to education. Right now, my daughter is a sophomore at Texas A&M University, and her tuition bill is $13,000 every semester. All right, $13,000. The next is healthcare. When you go to a doctor's office, you don't see prices. Competition is the center of capitalism, but there are not prices in the hospitals. How can you know what anything costs? And then the next thing is affordability. My wife called me a couple of weeks ago when she went to buy groceries. And she said, "See, I am not buying these $9 eggs." When they used to cost $4.
I just love those nowadays.
We gotta get you some chicken swallow.
That's right. Okay, guys, moving on to our next. Okay, now we're moving on to the next section, where a question will go to half of the candidates, and the different question will go to the other half of the candidates. Dr. Robert Rickard, please.
Thanks, Lala. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna kind of go randomly. So we're gonna start with Lillie again, with this first question. What is your strategy to refocus on the working class and address poverty issues? Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay, I couldn't decide, I said popular, populist, or pocketbook, which I think might all be the same thing. But, when it comes down to focusing on the working class, we need to take a step back, I think, and talk about, are we meeting voters where they're at? Are we actually talking to voters in their homes, in their communities? This last election cycle, with the national campaigns that were run, there was massive amounts of money that were spent on Democratic turnout across the country. And we missed the mark. So it's not just about the money, it's about the conversations that we need to have with voters. There are people that are right now today that are raising money to do research, to do deep qualitative research across the state, to meet with voters, to talk to them about the issues they care about, and to talk to them about what the Democratic Party means to them. Those are partnerships that the state party should be collaborating with and be at the table with. Because the state party does not have to do everything, but we need to be at the table and be a part of the conversation with people around the state that are doing the work.
It's about reconnecting with the working class.
Yes.
Okay, so I do a little bit of lobbying work, guys, but I'm not a paid lobbyist. The type of lobbying work that I do is for the environment, for integrations, and now teachers. Little did I know that there was voiceless people sitting at my table eating dinner with me while we're trying to have nonsense conversations about local politics. And teachers do not have a voice because what is it that they work for? They work for a corporation. And that corporation has requirements to self-sustain itself. And so what they first do is they make teachers keep their mouths shut, they put their jobs at risk, and that is so stressful. And so what we need to start doing is getting with the unions, getting with unions, all types of unions, and seeing what it is that they are hearing, because they're the only ones that can get the voices. So we need to re-identify ourselves with those groups of people and don't let the corporations run the banks.
So how to reconnect with our working voters. One, we have a large contingency on our SDC from labor. We've got to listen to those folks and work in collaboration with them. Then the second thing goes back to this culturally competent, continuous community engagement. We have got to listen to our voters before we ask them to vote for us. And when we truly listen to our voters, we will understand what is important to them. And I think we've learned that it is kitchen table issues.
Amen.
Let's talk about minimum wage in the state of Texas. Let's talk about benefits for our workers.
These are things that make a difference in people's lives every day. And that's where we need to focus.
Aaron, we're gonna change questions. That's okay, it's a real similar question.
Now, let us stay with that one, that's a good one.
Well, this one's more like, you know how it is on debate, you just answer the question.
What politicians do that?
So how will you bring back voters who didn't turn out to vote in the last election?
My name is Arguijo. How do you get voters back that didn't vote in the last election? It's easy to be a Democrat in San Antonio. You can put up your color sign and you know, everybody welcomes you. You know, you can be whatever you want to be, whoever you want to be in San Antonio, Texas. But in these areas of rural Texas, I believe that there's a stronghold with the Republican Party to where there are repercussions if certain people vote Democrat. But right now, we have an opportunity that's been given to us by Donald Trump. We have this mass deportation that's happening that we can ride the wave with. We can tell the Hispanic, I've been attending demonstrations across the state on Sundays, every Sunday for the past, several weeks since this whole thing started. And the message that I'm telling the Hispanic community and all these communities, today it's Hispanic, tomorrow it's you. Who's it gonna be, right? But also, if we can get together and we find out what it means not to vote, this is what's gonna happen. We're gonna get a guy like Donald Trump who's gonna truly bring to you the pain that he said he's gonna be. And I think we can right this way. The same goes with the school outfit. I think we can work with Republicans and find common ground in that. And that's how I believe that we're gonna get voters back into the vote.
Thank you. I'm Delia Parker-Mims. I'm a big believer that we need to move towards our kitchen table issues. Republicans don't change their message every time they go to a different group. The strength of our party is that we're diverse, but it's also our weakness. And right now, we're letting that weakness control us. What I believe is we have the answer many years ago when Martin Luther King tried to create the coalition of conscience. When he moved away from race and started talking about economic justice, that was when he was murdered. When he was telling poor whites that it is not the brown and the black people that are holding you down, but it's those 1%ers who are holding you down. That is when he was murdered, because he was building a coalition of conscience, which he defined as many different people. And to me, that is the Democratic Party. So we have to get back to the things that motivate people. If we want to talk about healthcare, we have to talk about how it impacts your family when you don't. When our representatives are fighting to expand Medicaid, but the Republicans are not. But it's got to be our kitchen table topics that motivate people to the vote.
There were 1.3 million people who voted in 2020 that chose not to vote in 2024. 1.1 million of those were Democrats. When you poll them and ask them why, they'll say things like the Democrats don't fight hard enough, they are too timid, they will compare us to things like turtles and slugs. I invite you to the chair of the Texas Democratic Party, not Mr. Bipartisan. And it is my priority to focus on our lane. And our lane is to turn out Democrats to vote and make sure that they feel that we are worth showing up to vote for. Of course, we should find a common thread across our coalition, and that is largely going to be economic issues and making sure that people who work 40 hours a week are able to put food on the table and feed their families. It does not mean that we turn our back on our partners, because folks like transgender Texans who are searching for basic human dignity deserve to be fought for. Women who are fighting for bodily autonomy deserve someone to stand up and fight for them. We do not turn our back on members of our coalition, but we also understand how important it is to have overarching messaging that impacts all of them before we kind of dive into those individualized issues.
Got me again, y'all. Reverend Steve Miller. When I was in 3rd grade, our teacher used to tell us this: nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. I'm from East Texas, and I live in East Texas, and I know how I feel. Texas Democrats do not come to East Texas to campaign. They do not show up. There are no yard signs, there are no billboards, there are no commercials, there are people not going door to door.
there is no sign or evidence that a statewide campaign is even taking place. How in the world can you win statewide if you ignore a whole region of the state? You cannot do it. You have to tell people and show people that you care. And we have forgot to show people that we care about. That's why we've been losing for the last 31 years. Democrats forgot about working people. And until we think about working people again, we're going to lose for the next 31 years. After November, I decided I was going to run the day after because I'm sick and tired of losing. Sick and tired.
We're gonna start with you on this one. I'm sorry, I did say that. I put the emphasis on the wrong one. We're gonna start with you and work to your left on this question.
Me?
No, Patsy. So what is your plan to support rural communities and rural candidates?
Okay, I feel like we've had this question, let's answer it again. So we have, at the state party can do this. We can provide infrastructure, technology, collateral materials, perhaps a federated website. I've talked to rural county party chairs who don't even have a bank account. The state party can offer that kind of assistance and help. That will help the folks that are working so hard out in rural Texas build a presence. And that's, I think, in rural Texas, that's the first thing we have to do, is make fellow Democrats know that there are like-minded people in their communities. So we can support our County Chairs Association, who are working hard to recruit county chairs across the state, provide technical assistance and collateral material in order to win.
So, we live in a world of technology now, guys. You know, I consider my iPad my front TV. You know, I can't go anywhere without it. Like, I communicate with it, I'm engaging with it, and now we can all try to adjust to the technical part. I know that some people are thrusted into the technical world via Zoom. We have to go to court hearings and everything like that, but let's make sure that our rural area is trained in technology, guys. We want to do some basic technical training, number one, and then give them some equipment too. A computer doesn't cost that much anymore, guys. If we can't invest $1,500 into our county party chairs, I don't know what is going on with the Democratic Party. But also, what I would like to do for the rural counties is, well, other than integrate them in technology, also make sure that they're trained on how to engage new voters or younger voters. I know that we're making sure that we are building our party, but we need to make sure that we also engage the younger voters as well. The kids that really can't say much compared to their parents.
Again, Lillie Schecter, thanks everyone for still watching online. My husband told me to slow down when I speak because I get too excited and I speak quickly, so I apologize. First and foremost, it's listening to people in their counties to hear what they need first. That's one of the things I've started doing over the last couple months when I've been talking to people about running for state party chair. It's about talking to Kyle and saying, Kyle, yes, I need you to run for Congress. Please run for Congress. What do you need to be a successful candidate in your area? I don't live here, but you tell me what you need. The other thing, talking to people in Brazos County, Jeff, who ran for state president last time, had the A&M Democrats. Yes, there are 45 A&M young Democrats who did block walking for him every cycle. He raised $11,000. He needs help raising a little bit more. How does the state party help them? First, we listen, and then we help them by different, connecting them around the state to different people. Maybe it's different donors, maybe it's different trainings. Talking to Kay had amazing training this morning. One of the things I was talking to her about is that I know that in Harris County, we have precinct chairs right now who are looking for ways to volunteer. So what I'd like to do is ask my Harris County precinct chairs to do phone banks for Kay to help her recruit more people into her events. So it's listening and then connecting the dots.
Thank you. We're going to start again in the middle, Aaron, with you, and work out this way. Steve, we'll start with you first later, so you won't always have to be the last person.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
But, Aaron, I think you'll like this one. What should be the party's messaging around immigration, and how should it be communicated?
Your vote is your voice, and too many times we often hear people in rural Texas, all over Texas, say, my vote doesn't matter. It does matter. If you take away, I always use my hometown as an example. It's 66% Hispanic, right? If you take away blacks, browns, colored people, you're gonna have a total economic collapse in this town. That's the messaging that we need to bring. That's how much power their vote has. That's the message that I've been telling every single person who may own a small business, maybe a taqueria, maybe a restaurant, right? And have kids. Maybe they were born in a foreign country and they have kids in public school. That's the message that I've been talking about them, talking to them, with them about. And, you know, and I've been calling them and saying, hey, listen, you have kids that go to school. Yes, sir, I can't vote. I was born and raised here in this area of Mexico. Listen, are you willing to make a contribution because your kids are in this? And that's what we gotta do. It's just talk to them about how important it is. And now we're seeing the results of some hate that is happening in our state and in our country. And the severity of it.
Thank you. I'm Delia Parker-Mims. I really believe in using data and strategy to determine what our messaging is. And I will tell you this, I am not standing before you telling you that I know how to do everything. What I do well is lead. I know how to find people who do what they do, inspire them, and get them to work. And messaging is extremely important. So if the issue of immigration is a big, bold messaging, certainly, I think this administration is going to give us a little hope on that, if that's something that our data shows is going to drive people to the polls. I don't know that I'm convinced that it does, but if it does, I will move according to that data. One thing that we will be able to tell people is, when they came for you, I said nothing. Everybody knows what happens after that, okay? And that's just right off the cuff. When they came for you, I said nothing. And we know how that story ends. So if we're going to use immigration as that messaging topic, I think the administration now is going to help us, and I think we have to keep it simple.
Can you repeat the question for me? I'm sorry.
Sure. What should be the party's messaging around immigration, and how should it be communicated?
Yeah, for those watching online, I'm Kendall Scudder. The reality of the immigration issue is one that everyone in this room understands, is that folks that are just needing to be treated with basic dignity and respect as they seek a better life for themselves. What Republicans have done is they have chosen to ostracize and scapegoat individuals who are amongst the most vulnerable people on the planet and make you afraid of them. And that's incredibly unfortunate. But I think that some scare tactics on issues like the border are some things that they could be doing a little better on Democrats as well. Where do you think the cartels are getting their guns? Greg Abbott is arming the cartels on the border and making our communities less safe. I don't believe that we frame this issue in a way so that people fully understand it. People, I think, are going to quickly understand the economic impacts of not having immigrants in our communities. And I think that the economic piece is one that's going to be hugely beneficial in our messaging there, but also helping people understand how dangerous our communities have become under Republican policies. Public safety is an issue that Democrats shouldn't run away from.
First of all, you can't get people out of their own homes. Hispanics, Native Americans have been here for years. You can't get them out of the place where they've been for centuries. Second thing is, you have to do unto others as you would have them, I'm sorry, that's mine. You have to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And then recognize who Hispanics are in this state. Where I'm from, Hispanics are the new merchant class. And what merchants need to operate are business loans. And what we do is we funnel those loans and we teach them how to get those loans so they can operate and fund their businesses. I think being strong in this area is a way to bring Hispanics to our team.
I was gonna let you keep the mic, Steve, so you won't shock yourself.
All right, thank you.
We'll start with you on this question.
Okay.
Data shows that black women are a solid voting base for Democrats. How would you work to increase their leadership and participation in our party and in our voter engagement efforts?
I mean, there's no way to work to increase their leadership engagement. They're already leading, and they're already engaged. The only thing they have to do is keep working, and what we have to do is follow their lead.
I think there are certainly ways that we can increase that engagement. Right now, we don't have any black member or senior staff on our party. I think that having a diverse staff at our party is really important, and that's a way that we can increase engagement there, so there's diverse points of view sitting at the table. Also, I think black women have carried this party on their backs, okay? And they've gotten us out of a lot of jams, okay? And I don't think that we acknowledge it as a party enough, appreciate it as a party enough. And I think it's time for black women to stop being in these support roles, and let's start elevating black women in positions of leadership in our party, because they're the ones swooping in and saving the day. The question is not, I don't think, about how do we get black women to show up more often. It's about how do we get white dudes to get a head on their shoulders, man. I mean, like the question about who's not pulling their weight and who's not doing things right with white folks when it comes to our issues. And I think that we can learn a lot about how those issues are amplified within black communities, because black communities are not just some hugely wildly progressive group of people. They're just folks that understand that democratic policies benefit them and benefit their communities, and we can learn the messaging piece from that, particularly in rural areas.
Well, I'm a black woman involved in the party, and I've increased engagement by being involved in intentional. Increasing engagement is intentional. Please go to my website, votedelia.org, and I talk about engagement. It's one word, but it's a huge piece. And the one thing that I want to present is that we need to become one team. It's not about how do we get black women. We vote, 92% of us who voted for Kamala. Okay, so we need little information to go vote. That's what I have come to the understanding. But we have to look at ourselves all as one team, not just how do we engage black women or how do we engage Hispanics. When we create that strategic plan, we're going to get our Hispanic caucus, our DC members, our black caucus, and we're going to talk about how can we get quantifiable goals to increase that engagement. And that includes with our elected officials. When people in Texas don't realize that our Democratic representatives are fighting to expand Medicaid, that will help them. And they actually blame us for high prices. That's because we're not engaging with them. But as a black woman, I fully concur that we need more black women in leadership positions, and I would like for you to elect me as chair.
Was this specific to black women? I'm sorry, that was the question. How do you get over?
Sure, so the question is, basically, how do we increase the leadership of black women?
Okay, that's great. So Texas is the most diverse state in the union. Houston, Fort Bend, I believe, Fort Bend, I want to say this, is the most diverse county in the nation, right? 25% Asian, 25% Black, 25% Hispanic, 25% Black. And they're all educated. So when I want Mexican food, I'm not going to go to Taco Bell, right? So there's an authenticity of us being a party that's diverse and that has these powerful women like Jasmine Crockett, like Delia Parker-Mims, who can help and guide and navigate our people, their people, our party, because we are a party that is diverse. And I think that me trying to figure out how a culture is, yes, I can try to replicate making adobo, but I guarantee you never tried Filipino adobo, right? So my point is having the people that represent various caucuses, various nationalities, ethnicities is important, specifically with black women and women in general across Texas.
Okay, I'm gonna turn it over to Lala for the next set of questions.
Thank you, Robert. Continuing with your debate, what do you think we need to do to reach out to faith-based communities to win their support? Lillie?
It's a great question. I will first start talking to Reverend Steve Miller over there and ask him what he thinks is the best way to reach out to faith-based leaders to increase their support in the party. But I think it's also being very intentional about making sure that everybody has a place at the table, that we are a party that focuses on what unites us and not divides us, and that we make space for everyone to be heard from every community. We're talking about immigration, faith-based, transgender rights, whatever it is, everyone belongs at the table and should be respected and have a voice at the table because we are a coalition party. So I think we have to take a step back and say, how are we creating this space that's respectful, and we're honest, and we're transparent, and we're inclusive? Because at the end of the day, we are all Texas Democrats, so every single person here that's running for this position represents a different part of the party. But that's what makes our party beautiful. So we need to make sure that we're always, everything we're doing is leading the party in a very intentional way, so that we're transparent, respectful, and we're honest all the time, whether it's from the TDP staff, to the SDEC, to the county party chairs, to the candidates. Everywhere we go, that's how we should be leading the party.
Thank you for this question. My name is Meri Gomez, for everybody watching online. I love this question because my father's a pastor. I grew up in the church, and to me, that was negative politics 101, because I really learned a lot of the politics of religion, but it wasn't fair at all. And so, I am a believer of Jesus Christ. I think him as my Lord and Savior, and I want the Christian community of Texas to know that we are here and we're ready to do the teachings of Jesus, and real teachings of Jesus Christ, not this, denying your neighbor, help, rejecting the foreigner. That we need to bring the church back into the Democratic Party. I do it in a way that I respect all religions. I am a ordained minister with the Universal Church of Life. I am taught to respect all religions. I can marry someone in any religion also, but I need the Texas Christians to know that we're here, guys, and we're ready to make the Texas Democratic Party strong. But there's a wall. There's a wall.
So how do we engage leaders of the faith-based communities across Texas? First of all, I'm Patsy Woods Martin, and we all know that leaders in the effort for justice, equity, for all people have been historically leaders of our faith-based communities. And we need to embrace that. Again, we are a party for all, and we have to be intentional about how there are leaders of faith-based communities around the state who are standing up for the marginalized. We need to embrace them and listen to them and work right alongside them for justice and equity. Then own them as members of our Democratic Party.
Can you hear me?
Let me just say, we're going to go ahead and allow Mr. Steve Miller as a candidate to answer this question as well.
Okay. I'll be honest with you. I don't feel welcome in this party as a man of faith. Since I jumped into the race, I've heard people say, he doesn't believe in church-state separation, right? No one's ever called me and asked me that question. Early in the week, I accidentally sent out a video that started at the beginning that had some religious overtones in it. I never watched the beginning of the video. So I told people to go to a certain time, and they didn't, they started watching at the beginning. I got so many nasty texts from Democrats about doing it. They were ugly. They were mean. They had no compassion. And I'm a candidate for the chair, and I could potentially be their leader. And those text messages were ugly. We cannot forget that the people who brought you the 1964, 1965 voting rights bills and civil rights bills was the African American church. And we cannot forget that African American, especially the African American church, is a background of the Democratic Party, and we cannot forget that. And if we ignore, and if we shy away or repel African American leaders, you're going to repel a huge segment of the Democratic Party. I'm sorry.
You're good, that's a pastor in you, I get that.
Will you please be consistent?
This next question, I'm gonna give it straight to Mr. Aaron,
Yes.
if you will. Okay, what is your connection to rural Texas?
Don't say it. I was in Lubbock. Bay High School, was a middle linebacker, Wolf Trillium, Wolf Breonna, Chieftains. I was born and raised right here in Denver, Texas. I worked these fields my entire childhood. I worked in the feedlots, in the feed yard, where I learned how to paint pencils and shovel, you know what. And, that's what I did. That's what I did to make money in the summers. I worked for Mr. Wright, working in the fields. We cleaned up what we call Arguijo in Spanish. So we would work in the fields, taking out all the weeds. You guys know what I'm talking about. In the cotton fields, the beet fields. If you don't, it's hard work. And so that's my connection to rural Texas. I love this place. When I was driving in, I was seeing, this is the flatlands, right? The South Plains right here by Lebanon. So when I was driving in, I was looking at all the cotton fields, just reminiscing, just thinking about every time. When I leave San Antonio to the hill country, you see all the trees. You get to West Texas, if you see a tree, that means there's a house beside it. And so that's where we live, right? There's literally nothing out here. You slowly leave yourself, disconnecting yourself from society once you leave San Angelo. But that's where we're at, and that's where I'm proud to be from. And I was born and raised, and I love it, and I love to be living until I die.
Ms. Delia, your turn.
I'm sorry.
First, so Denton County, I'm Delia Parker-Mims for those that are watching online. Thank you so much. Denton County, I would say, is about 30% rural, so I do understand that there's a lot of challenges. There are people in our party who are even afraid to put things on their car because they feel like they'll get run off the road. People who don't want to put signs up because they're afraid somebody will let their animals or poison their livestock with their ranches. I understand the complexity of being in rural and the tendency to want to hide. We have to start being bold. That's what we did in our county. The leaders have to be bold. But what I want to talk about is the fact that we as Democrats need to be one team. You can ask us about every little segment within the party. And what I want to propound is until we are one team, we're not fighting together. We have to be one team. And I think I can say that because as a Black woman, don't nobody truly give a shit about anything in my life. But I'm joking and not joking. As educated as we are, we're still at the bottom of the list. And if I'm willing to say my identity is a Democrat, then all of us need to say we are Democrats, and let's get Democrats elected.
Oh, goodness. Do y'all know where Texarkana is? Okay, outside of Texarkana, there's a town called New Boston. You know where New Boston is? Outside of New Boston, there's a town called Sims. You know where Sims is? That's where I'm from. My family has a purple oak leaf farm out there. I was driving a combine when I was 7 years old. You spend one summer picking watermelons in East Texas, you'll live in Dallas. I love East Texas. I used to be chair of the Texas Democrats Rural Caucus. I lived in North Bureau forever. Non-urban Texas is just kind of where my heart, my formative years have been. But I want to talk about something that pivots from this question a little bit. I know that Lubbock fancies itself a rural town. Lubbock ain't rural, y'all. Lubbock is a mid-sized city. There are 40 mid-sized cities in the state of Texas of more than 100,000 people. And they are treated as if there's 10 votes there. If Lubbock were in any other state, it would be the population center, okay? We've got to get out of this mentality that there's nobody that lives in Amarillo, there's nobody that lives in Lubbock, and there's nobody that lives in Ely. These mid-sized cities are right for the picking, y'all. And it's important that if we're eating a whale or an elephant one bite at a time, I think the mid-sized cities are a great place to start.
This is gonna go on to Mrs. Patsy, please. It's gonna be a new question. It's gonna be a new question.
Oh, a new question.
Yes, ma'am. Our newly elected Democratic National Committee Chair Ken Martin says the path to the next presidential race goes through Texas. What, if any, training or experience do you have in dealing with the national media?
Yes. All right, now is it on? Okay, great. I know how to turn a microphone on. Is that the first thing? I actually do have some experience working with national and statewide media. I was the executive director of Annie's List from 2014 to 2018. Do you all know Annie's List? Yeah, we worked to elect women pro-choice women across the state up and down the ballot. And before that, I launched a digital program called Amplify Austin. And that required me to talk to local, national media often because we were building awareness of giving. And folks were very interested when I was at Annie's List around the nation about the work we were doing, focused on pro-choice women. So yes, I do have experience.
Yes, go ahead.
Myself?
It's going in order to the left, your left of Patsy.
Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Meri Gomez, and I have some experience with national media. As you guys know, there was a lot of national attention in South Texas due to the Build a Wall initiative where Steve Bannon created a nonprofit. I was also very active with the National Butterfly Center, who was highlighted a lot because they had a lot of legal battles going on. And also I was interviewed a lot as an activist because I, for one, was the one who got 11 out of 15 municipalities to create special meetings just to pass resolutions against the border wall. So I'm not a media person too much. I really don't like coming out on camera, but what I do know is that when I have something that I need to get across or that I need to push, I'm always there and I'm active and I know what people to talk to and how to talk to them. So,
Lillie, please.
Thank you. Well, most recently, I was in the New York Times article with Ken Martin talking about the future of the Texas Democratic Party. That is on my website at lillieforchair.com. You're welcome. Please check it out. When I was the Harris County Democratic Party chair, we were in the national news constantly, sometimes for good things, sometimes for bad things, because Republicans are always going after us. But we were mostly in the news for really good programs that we ran. When we elected 19 Black female judges in 2018, it was historic in the midterm election that we won, so we were in national media constantly. That same year, we also elected Lena Hidalgo and won the commissioner's court, the Democratic commissioner's court for the first time in decades. We were in the media all the time. So I think I'm very comfortable being in the media. I also realize that there are experts that we should have around us that make sure we navigate the media well.
Very good. Okay, Steve Miller, the next question. One of the Democratic core values is to stand up for each other. How do we continue to stand up for MAGA's baseless hatred? Repeat it. One of the Democratic core values is to stand up for each other. How do we continue to stand up for MAGA's baseless hatred? Yes.
Yes.
I really think this is where Black preachers come into view. Back during the 1965 civil rights, the 1960 civil rights movement, which really started in 1955, it was a Black church that stood up against racism. It was Martin Luther King Jr. and all of those preachers from Alabama, and Georgia, and Mississippi that stood up to the hate of America. Right now, we have Pastor Jamal Bryant out of Atlanta, who's standing up for America, who's standing up for African Americans in this race against hate. So African American pastors can again lead a coalition of other pastors, white pastors, Jewish pastors, Hispanic pastors. Then with a unified voice, we can begin to speak back with this hate. That's why we need religious leaders inside the Democratic Party, so we can speak to the issues
of race and hate when they come up. Right now, the Democrats feel tired. It feels like a rudderless ship. And that is not how you stand up. We have to put a healthy dose of energy into our party, okay? To start realizing what we felt in 2017 to lead up to the 2018 election. A lot of people engage in activism in different ways. Some will want to join our apparatus, and we should welcome them and train them and help them in doing that. Others will want to come in on issue advocacy, groups like ARFA that has done incredible work in Amarillo. And it's our responsibility as a party to make sure we're supporting those legislative endeavors, creating space and training in these organizing endeavors, and trying to meet people where they're at. Because the best way to fight back is to show up and throw down. And I hope that I have shown in my 22 years of activism in our party that I'm the kind of person who shows up and throws down on the issues that matter. We can't be afraid of them. We can't be timid. Now is not the time to play middle-of-the-road games. It is the time to stand up and speak truth to power and not be afraid.
Ms. Delia, please.
Thank you. I'm Delia Parker-Mims for those online. I'm going to try to answer both questions quickly. We have to increase engagement, period. And meeting people where they're at, we have to do that. But we can't just wait, and as Lillie said, and to get out the vote when we're engaging. We're behind the 8 ball. Republicans are engaging all day long, all year long, and they are doing it on Sunday morning, most importantly. So yes, I do believe we need to invite our religious people with us as well, but that doesn't just include Christian religion, all of our religions. That's another way to do that. But increasing engagement. As far as media, I think I'm the only candidate here who I do media all the time. I've been on network TV debating Republicans. You have to be a strong, fight, and smart representative of the Democratic Party when you're going against people who are willing to sit down and lie in your face, set you up. So I invite you to look at my website, votedelia.org. Thank you.
The next chair, my name is Arguijo again, just to remind you. The next chair is gonna have a big, fat, giant microphone. And we need to use that microphone to confront any racism from the federal level all the way down to the city council. Because you guys know that it exists here. It happens all around us. And I'll tell you what, I'm not gonna tolerate it. We're not gonna tolerate it. We want people that are vicious, that are upset, that want to fight for this. Right now, there are marginalized groups that are under attack, and it's unacceptable. It doesn't matter about race. It doesn't matter about how you live or what you want to be, whatever it is. There are various groups of people that are under attack, and we need to confront that. One of our constituents here in the room today made a good recommendation. Being on the TV every week, having uncomfortable conversations with people that we need to have, because that's what we're going to get to the bottom of this. And when we find out, when we start confronting this racism, when that onion gets pulled back, we're going to know. They're going to know that we have similar fears, only different results, right? We're the same people. They have different fears than we do. Yeah.
All right. Lillie, this question is for you. What podcasts, news shows, or other types of media do you recommend to others and why? Or what resources do you use to help you stay informed about current events?
Y'all, since the last election, I stopped watching the news for about 2 months. I'll be honest. I could not handle everything that was coming out of it. I needed to take a break. But my number one news source is my husband next to me, who never stopped watching the news, who never stopped news scrolling. So he would always keep me abreast of what's going on. I'm an NPR listener in my car. I don't know about anybody else. I find NPR and I align the most. So I highly recommend it as a way to find out what's happening locally. But I also think that there are a lot of great books that are out that people should read about the history of the Democratic Party. There's one called How Parties right now. It's great. It gives a history of our parties and kind of where we are today and why the parties have been hollowed out and carved out. But the other thing is talking to people about what's going on in their lives is the other way to figure out what's happening in your communities. Listening to them, talking to them, figuring out what's happening at the school board, what's happening in commissioner's court, so that we all stay informed at the local level as well.
Ms. Gomez.
My name is Meri Gomez. So a lot of my news comes from the local county party chat groups, guys. Like, we share so much information. Of course, I am taught through college to always look for authoritative sources. So, but I look at everything that they all say. We need to share and communicate. So I get a lot of my news from the local precinct chairs. But me personally, I do like to read New York Times and the Monitor, which is our local newspaper. So those are my news sources, but you can always count on a local precinct chair, that's right.
Ms. Patsy.
So Lily, I think our husbands may be cutting the same clock. You know, CNN, MSNBC, Fox goes continuously on the TVs when he's around. I tend to look to more local media outlets. I love the Barbed Wire. Did y'all check them out in the back of the room? I read the Houston Chronicle. I read the Dallas Morning News. I read the Texas Tribune. And let me think. The Horror Report, which is has information from all around Texas. Also, frankly, get news off of Facebook and Instagram. And that is an area where, as Democrats, we can communicate a lot better. And I look forward to working with you all to do that in the future.
Very good. Okay, the next question is gonna go to Erin, if you will, please. Outside of staffing and hiring, what will you do to effectively brand and market Democratic messaging and narratives to win the media war?
Driving around in a bus. My name is Aaron again. Driving around in a bus with a big old sign that says Texas Democrats. We can't be afraid. I don't know. There's a property in Lubbock, Texas on the top square that I want to get. If everyone sells it to me, I'll rent it. And I just want to put the Democrats right across. I want everybody in rural Texas to see it. That's going to be one of the first approaches that we take. But yeah, I think that just consistently just be proud to be a Democrat. And, you know, driving around, I've said from the beginning that when I win this race, if I win this race, that I'm going to hook up the travel trailer to the back of my truck, and I'm going to park it in every county across Texas, and I'm going to work my tail off. I'm going to assess the situation, but you're going to see a big old fat Democrat sign. Of course, I risk people egging the thing, but I don't know about egging anymore, but, you know, of course, I risk, repercussions, but, it's, we got to do it. We need to be, look, especially in these areas, you all know it, we need brave people. And I think there's a lot of people up here on this panel that are brave, people that aren't afraid to have a debate when it comes to border at the town and country or at the strikes, right? So that's what I'll be doing. Thank you.
Ms. Martin. Patsy. Oh, no, we're going the wrong way. That's okay.
Yeah, that's
I
okay.
can't do this. No. Thank you.
Branding is one of my fortes. If you look in my county, we brand everything. And I'll give you an example. We were #1 for increasing percentage of voter registration in the state of Texas. In Denton County when I sat down in the chair. We branded our outreach, we called it Fight Back, Register 50. I believe branding is the base of everything we do. We had shirts, we had logos, we had icons, we gave our volunteers shirts so that when they were going around to those doors, we didn't set up a registration tent at Walmart, we went to those doors of people who moved into our county. We made it look like one team. And so what I want to do, and what I've been trying to do in this race, is say we need another brand. And that is, we have to be Texas Democrats, one team. We can sit and talk about every single subset of the group, but when we realize we are one team, then we're gonna start moving forward. I think one thing that I want to do immediately in terms of branding and fundraising is create the next campaign which says, Texas money stays in Texas. Stop sending your money to candidates outside of the state where we're not getting anything back. That's the first branding thing that I'm really creating.
Kendall.
I think it's very important that Democrats understand, and this is coming from a guy under the age of 40. It is very important for Democrats to understand that the mainstream media is no longer mainstream. I make a concerted effort to ensure that I only get about half of my news from mainstream media. The rest of it comes from alternative sources of media, podcasts, those types of things, because our party has to start going into those venues if we want to be serious. The days of writing a press release and going to SNBC and calling it a day are over, okay? We have to bear hug alternative forms of media, okay? As a party, I think a strong message that we can have is that when you elect Texas Democrats, you get lower taxes, safer streets, and better schools. Those are things, we have walked away from these issues that are important. If you look at the 1976 Democratic State Convention, there's a really great ad of Dolph Briscoe wearing a football uniform, and he's down and it says, Dolph Briscoe on the front line against all new taxes. And that's because Democrats fight to keep working class people's taxes low, right? Why are we getting into all these intricacies, guys? We're fighting to keep people's taxes low, and we need to earn it. In the last legislative session, we fought to double your homestead exemption. Why are we not campaigning on that? As a party, we have to keep it simple and keep it on the issues that affect people and seek out alternative media.
Okay, Mr. Steve.
60 seconds. As you can see, I figured out a strategy. I think this works. I'd be electrified myself and I would be shocked anymore. So, I think before anything, just from being a chair, racing, I can't even talk, sorry about it, for being a candidate for chair, I've discovered that the party lacks unity. The party lacks unity. Through unity, power. E pluribus unum. E pluribus unum. From many, there is one. So if we come together as one unit, not all these different issue groups, not all these races, not all these ethnicities, but one people, but one Democratic Party focused upon one thing, I believe we'll start winning. And the things that we need to focus upon are those American dream issues. Jobs, 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 homes, 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 education, 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 healthcare, and affordability. If we concentrate on that and can have a message of that, we'll win all day long, and we don't need so much money. Thank you, sister.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say something before I hand it over to Professor Ricketts. I just want to say I'm impressed by all of the candidates, the diversity. This is exactly what we needed to see and hear you guys speak. All in one color makes it difficult for the rest of us, but it's not. This is diverse at its best. So thank you for stepping up and doing the legwork and having us. I will now pass it over to Professor Ricketts for closeout. Thank you.
Lala turns off the microphone too. But thank you for saying that, Lala, because I've been sitting here thinking how much I love all of you guys. And it's easy to say because I don't get a vote, so I can equally love everybody. But this has been a wonderful day. It's been very energizing. A lot of great messages. I expect and know that whoever wins will borrow some of these great ideas from the others. But you have one last question to answer before we get to there. This is the wrong page. What is your plan to raise, and this question is for everybody, so we're going to do the whole row. What is your plan to raise the money needed to build the infrastructure we need all across the state? We want your fundraising plan, not including hiring the city. So we'll start on the very end down there.
I'll go first again. This is, okay. I think my battery died. Battery died? Yeah. This is my favorite question, because I do think that fundraising is incredibly important. In order for us to raise enough funds to really have a flourishing, high-functioning party, we all need to work collaboratively. I come out of Harris County where I raised $5.5 million for the Harris County Democratic Party. In my career, I've raised over $30 million for Democratic candidates up and down the ballot. And we need to have a plan that covers the entire state. We need to look at all of our revenue streams. We need to look at our digital fundraising. We need to look at our grassroots fundraising. We need to look at our high dollar fundraising. We need to look at our events. And we need to see where the money's coming from and how we grow from there. Whether or not you love Beto O'Rourke or Colin Allred or both, we agreed that both of them raised a massive amount of money for the state of Texas. We need to bring them into the party and get them to help us raise funds for the party, but also look at the way they raise funds. They created finance councils across the state. They did not just they did a lot of call fighting themselves, and they did a bunch of digital fundraising, but they also had a finance council that covered the entire state and had leaders, local leaders, helping bring in money. So that's my very short fundraising plan, but LillieForShare.com has a lot more detail on it. So, and if you have any questions, I would love to talk to you about it, because it is a critical part of the next steps.
Hello again, my name is Meri Gomez. So, as a daughter of a businessman, one of the things that I was in charge of was maintaining a receivables. Our receivables was approximately about $5 million, and I would collect almost $50,000 a day in payments in our family business. First thing I want to do with the Democratic Party is create a pledge fund. And we're going to call all the Democrats, as many as we can across the state, so that way they can pledge to us a certain amount of money. I want to put that pledge on the receivable. That receivable is going to be carrying on a note, and what we're going to be doing is contacting them on a daily basis. Hey, we pledged $1,000 for this year. Can you give us $100? So we want to keep the cash flow coming in. And also definitely grow fundraisers throughout the state, so that way we can also get local parties involved and collaborate so we all work together. But I think creating a pledge system that we carry on a note basis where we can actually see how much our Democrats are willing to pledge for us all year round. Thank you.
I'm gonna make a sports reference, so let's start with, how about those Red Raider basketball, top 10? So, fundraising is a team sport, and we have been without a coach and a point guard. And what I will be pledged to be is your point guard, and I have lots of fundraising experience. When Beto O'Rourke ran for governor, I was his finance chair in the first quarter. I helped build that team that raised $23 million in that first quarter alone. We were able to fully fund Annie's List while I was there with over $5 million raised. Additionally, I raised and spent about $700,000 in state house races in this last decade. So, how do you do that? You build your team, and I look forward to working with you all to raise the funds, and those funds are only important so that we can run programs to win elections.
So since the last forum, my name is Aaron again. I've been on the phone. My background is in business. I raised millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars for businesses. But from a political aspect, it's a different story. It's like putting out a GoFundMe and then everybody forgets who you are when you're in need, right? That's what it feels like. But I've been working the phone, and I've been talking to people, and I've got a group of people right now. I've got a team of Democrats, actually, from Texas, who are already ready to help me with the bundling, the crowdfunding, the approach to how to do it on social media, email, all that good stuff. But as of right now, I've got several $1 million already pledged, and I know that I can do it. I know that we can do it. It's going to take money, but money's not going to be enough. Let's just remember that in the civil rights movement, like the Red brought up, they were able to build organization just by going together. They didn't have power with big money. But let's just remember that hard work also pays off. But I do have pledges right now, and we're going to continue to work, of course, from a grassroots perspective, small donors as well. But yeah, that's my approach.
Delia Parker-Mims. I'm going to share that in Denton County, we have increased our fundraising 400%. Now, my county is a red county where our donors are afraid to even be outed. So so when I say that is because it is hard to raise money for a county party, especially in the red area, where Republicans are strangling the resources out of Democrats, and that's how they typically keep us down. But we were able to do that by being bold, by getting out there, but also by putting in mechanisms and putting in multiple streams of abilities to raise money from our emails into our personal requests. I did not do the phone calls. I got with a professional fundraiser. I didn't pay him. I inspired him to work with us. And we went around telling compelling stories to people who could write large checks. And we were able to get money. One thing I think that we can do for the state of Texas is go to safe blue states. Because when I say one team, I'm not just talking about Texas Democrats, I'm talking about Democrats. And if we save Texas, we can save America, and I think there's money out there that we can get.
So I uniquely understand how challenging it is to raise money for a party apparatus. I currently serve as the finance chair of the Texas Democratic Party. I was elected at the 22 convention. It is a slog from time to time, but my colleagues up here are completely correct that it is a team adventure, okay? Unfortunately, folks are not as interested in raising for the party because they haven't felt like they're on a team. And setting that tone is crucial for us to understand we're all in this together. I think there's 3 buckets. The first is small dollars to save members. That was a project that I spearheaded when I came in, to reform the sustaining donors. That project is important because after elections, we need to be able to sustain ourselves. It takes a lot of work, a lot of time. I'd love to be able to see that get up to about 10,000 donors around the state. I think that's a realistic expectation we need to hit. We maintain our average contribution. That's our budget for the year. There's large donations that we can have by going around the state, hosting those types of traditional fundraisers that we have to have large dollars. There's a third bucket I want us to start looking at and focusing on is bringing in people from the nonprofit sector to focus on things like endowments and inheritances of people's wills to try to create endowments for every director level position in the party. I'd love to talk about it when we get something.
Outside of collection on Sundays, I never raised a penny. I don't know how to raise money. I'm a community organizer. That's what I'm good at. That's what I would do. So since I'm not well versed at that, what I would do is hire a fundraiser. I would hire the best fundraiser that money could buy, who has a track record of achievement for many, many years. So I would hire someone like our very own Miss Patsy. I would hire her, Gilly, or Lillie, or the team. So that's what I would do.
All right, that was our last question. I want to thank you. We all want to thank you for one thing we know out here is that it's not always the easiest place to get to. And we appreciate that almost every candidate for state party chair came to Lubbock, Texas, to talk to everyone here and online. And, you know, that's leadership. It's always fun to stand up and talk to people, but leadership's a hell of a lot of work too, and we know that you're doing it, and we really appreciate it, and we are very, very grateful. We also want to shout out to Jordan here for keeping the time. I thought that was about a good time. So everyone, please stay seated as I call our non-urban rural caucus representative to make closing remarks. The third of our 5 critical DPT chair candidate forums.
We can avoid strangling somebody else. I have to impress on all of you how hard it is for everybody to stand and deliver like they have today. Can we have another round of applause? I am vice chair of the non-urban rural agricultural caucus, was the name of the Texas Democratic Party. Farmers Fight. All of the people here, how many of you were involved in some way in the planning and execution of this event? Raise your hand. I'd like to recognize Sue Barrett from Lubbock, who you all know. Clayton Tucker, chair of the Progressive Party. You know, when I was a little kid, I was born too early for Play-Doh. But I used to watch some younger children play with Play-Doh, you know that little machine, they put different colors in, and they push on it, and it squirt out this odd color.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful that of all the great and wonderful ideas, well thought, well experienced, beautifully delivered ideas that we heard here today, and in other seminars and forums with these candidates, that we can squeeze out the Rainbow Coalition of magic.
Amen.
Wow. Well, this is as an SDC member, and I know there are other SDC members here with me, we hold the great responsibility of trying to do our best to choose new leaders, and it's a tough job. But I appreciate all of you for coming, and all of them for standing up and answering the call when we need that.
That's it.
All right.